Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Problem with my mic again. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
What the hell? And still you can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Well, we're gonna roll with this. I don't know why I can't hear you great, but I think I can hear you guys enough. Happy Friday. Today I'm gonna do it at the top of the call so I don't forget, but always crushing it with Kirk on Fridays. If you have not attended, please get to that call. We get rave reviews, and you're always going to learn a little something about how to convert a little bit better, reach out a little bit better, connect a little bit better on that call. So jump on that, stay as long as you like. How about a win? Who's going to start us today, this Friday, with a win? Oh, Jen, right off the bat. Let's go.
Yeah, I was packing to go away, just doing a long weekend away. And it's a 10-hour drive to where we're going. We're up in northern Maine. And so I was working all day, literally in the car with setting up appointments for my clients and offers. And I got an accepted offer last night.
Let's go. And isn't it like you hear it all the time? And I know we had our one-on-one, we were kind of talking about this, Jen, where it's like when you try and do the vacation, it definitely seems like the real estate world just is like, okay, no vacation for you. Here's 10 clients. Here's 3 offers to write. Here's 20 houses to show. It just
and
always.
the thing with this one is it was a referral from one of my first clients when I started there. And it's a cousin of his, and they didn't even meet me in person. And they're like, no, we just know you did well for our cousin. Can you please help us? And then I got it accepted.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, way to start the vacation. Is there any chance where you're going does not have cell service so you can actually like get away for maybe a day or two, or maybe a portion of the trip has no cell service?
Maybe when we're on the ATV
All right.
trails.
That's what you got to hope for, or else it's tough to get away. I think I've told this story before, but the first time I truly got away, I actually just didn't bring my phone, because other than that, this business will tie you to the digital world for sure. Anybody else want to share something before we get started? Anybody else got a win or something? All right. I just have a little bit of a thought experiment for you guys. I'll keep this part brief. We'll go probably more roundtable today. But something that I've been thinking deeply on, and I think there's a lot of stories that we can tell ourselves about where we're at right now, where we've been, and where we're going. And philosophically, I think a lot of people will relate it to being chapters of a book, and that we get to write our own story. And the thought experiment for you guys, and maybe it's you take some time this weekend if you haven't done this recently, is what's the current chapter called? Right? If we've got all these chapters of our lives, and the beautiful thing is, you know, I guess I'm hoping everybody's read at least one book. Some chapters can be long, some chapters can be short, some chapters can involve a lot of other characters, some maybe not so much. So what's the current chapter called? Like, kind of zoom out on this, take a bird's eye view, and is this the current chapter that you want to be writing? Is it a chapter of joy and fulfillment? Is it one of chaos? Is it one of rebirth? Is it fear? And if you don't like it, the beauty of what we're doing here on this planet is We can just end the chapter and we can start a new one. And I truly believe that. I think with the right mindset, just new chapter, that's it. Right? Because we can get stuck in a chapter and we just keep writing that same story. Just change the chapter. If you're stuck, if you don't love what this chapter is being called, maybe you got to get some new characters in the next chapter, some new mentors, some new peers. Right? For those of you guys that are reading heavy, like a character can really change a chapter. And so maybe you need a new character in this next chapter coming up. Or what happens in some of these books? Characters get killed off. Right? Do we need to release some people for this next chapter because they're not part of the story anymore? So I'll just leave it at that. I don't know if anybody wants to kind of comment on it, but I think it'd be a great thought experiment. Then you're going to hopefully have some time up there in Maine. You know, I don't know what everybody's schedule looks like over the weekend, but I would encourage you, if you haven't done this, or at least haven't done it recently, take the weekend, just get with your thoughts, turn everything off a little bit, and maybe reflect on some of the past chapters. What's this current chapter? What would it be called? And do we want to keep writing this chapter? Right? Some of you guys might be having a great chapter right now, and we're just going to keep going with this chapter. But if you don't love it, we've got permission to change it. So, any thoughts on this one? Jeff and Linda?
Steve, I absolutely love this, and what an awesome way to frame it, right? It just helps you to have a very fresh perspective on how to look at it as an insider, trying to look at it from the outside in, if I'm explaining that well. So I really, really dig this concept, and it's very thought-provoking. Yeah, love it.
Awesome. I'm glad that hit well for you. Hiram.
So for me, I think I constantly revisit my why, right? And look at my goals. And if I were to put a character to myself, I would be a superhero, right? Because I feel that in our industry, as a real estate professional, we change lives, right? We help our clients attain a dream of home ownership. Salespeople sell, real estate professionals change lives, and that's how I look at it.
I love that. I love making yourself the superhero in your story, Hiram. You know, when I'm around you, man, I definitely get that vibe, right? It's always positive. Like, and I know there's stuff going on. You got shit just like everybody else. But when I'm around you, I get a nice positive vibe. You know, I get that Santa beard, right? Very giving. So it's working, man. I love that superhero analogy. And there's a book. What the hell is it called? Something Alter Ego. I forget the author's name, but Alter Ego, where he talks about some of the top performers in the world they become somebody else when they were going into their line of work. I think Beyonce has I think it's like Sasha Fierce or something, and Kobe had the Mamba mentality, and he talked about Bo Jackson had something, but yeah, I think that stuff can work, right? When you get into character and you can really turn it on, because look, there's some shit days, but when we get to that doorstep, we've got to turn it on. You've got to be the superhero, especially if it's first appointment. I've been doing a lot of one-on-ones for the past week. I don't even know what I've had, 30 of them, 40 of them. And you can tell, we bring a lot of agents into this brokerage. We give everybody the same opportunities, right? You want to build your business, we've got leads. You want support, we've got that for you. And some people just take it and they run with it, and others are just letting it pass them by, and you know, this business is changing, and it's going to take pros. It's going to take superheroes. So you got to love this business moving forward. Martin. Oh. Martin got upset. It took too long to get to him, so he just left. Anybody else with a thought on this? Margareta.
Hi all. Just a quick one because I've heard this, and besides just what chapter you're in and being able to rewrite it or change it or add characters, also consider the people around you. What book are they in? Because sometimes people are also in different books. So I think sometimes when you take a step back, it's like, okay, this chapter, and are we all in the same book? Because that also kind of has an impact on this whole theory.
I think one of the areas that we've had a ton of success, or we've seen a ton of success, is when agents get a buddy, they get a partner, they get somebody else. And it's almost like both people say, you know what? We're not happy with the past chapter. Let's write the new chapter together. And so you're not in it alone, right? That's hey, here's the new character for my new chapter. I've got a partner, right? It's a Batman and Robin. It's something. And the group stuff really, really works. We always see an increase in production when an agent's buddy up. So if you're not where you're at production wise, I highly recommend it, because I'm not sure I can remember a time where it didn't increase productivity, it didn't get you into a better mindset. So if you're not where you're at, can you buddy up? Because this business can get lonely if you're just going about it by yourself. Anybody else? All right, well, let's just go ahead. There's Martin. He's back.
That hit the wrong button. I never met Hiram, but I'm sorry. The vibes I get from Hiram are the zombie killing vibes.
The what now?
The zombie killing vibes. He'll understand.
Okay. I don't know those vibes, so I'm going to have to educate myself. Well, let's open it up roundtable. Who's got something cool going on to share, lesson learned? We'll still have wins. What do we got? Let's talk some real estate. I'll throw something out there. We had an agent do a final walkthrough. So we got the buy side of this deal. They get there, we got seepage in the basement. So not previously disclosed, and this is always a tough one when you're taking a listing. It's like you're, in New England where we have basements. You're nervous to ask this question. Do you get water in the basement? Because it's like you could have the most honest people in the world. They never get water. But back in 1983, there was a spot on the floor, and they're like, yeah, one time, and and now you got to disclose it. And other times, they're like, no, we don't get anything. There's no water down here. And then, and what is all that staining over there going on? So in this case, I don't know if this listing agent even asked or discussed it, but nothing disclosed. Buyer was fine with it. But buyer's agent decides to ask, hey, nothing was disclosed, but can you ask your seller, do you guys get water? And then the seller's response was, yeah, it happens if we get heavy rains. So we tell the agent, buyer says, hey, you know what, I get it. I've owned property in New England before, I get it, I'm not concerned about it. But the advice here is just, we've got to get something in writing that the buyer has acknowledged this. We just don't want this to come back and be like, I didn't know, right? Because even though that conversation happened, that buyer buys that house and the water is more than occasional seepage, or something gets damaged, or just they're having a bad day and now the water is bothering them. And all of a sudden we didn't know, and I didn't understand, and I was forced to go through with the deal, right? So if we're going to have these conversations, we definitely need to get this stuff in writing. Hey, buyer is acknowledging the scenario after it was brought up. They're okay with it. They want it to move forward. Anybody have any questions around this or just want to add to this? Hey, I had a similar scenario. Here's how we handled it. Or I've got this other scenario. Here's how I handled it. Is that how I should have handled it? Do you have any other final walkthrough, uncovered this, or water in the basement stuff? Jen, we'll go with you. Yours was up first.
I just had a final walkthrough and the sink was leaking in the kitchen, like a lot, and it was flowing. So, I told the buyers, I said, we can reach out to because nothing came up in inspection and nothing, with that, and nothing came up in disclosures. So I said, we can reach out to the sellers and let them know and just find out if they'll do something for it, or, what would you like to do? And they said, yeah, let's mention it. That would be great. Of course, if they're not going to do anything, we're not going to walk away. But I said, yeah, who wants to buy a house with a leaky sink if they're going to fix it? And so I did. I reached out and they got a plumber over that day and they fixed it. So did I answer the question right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I want, the point of these things is just to share stories, right? Because some people, you've done a final walkthrough, they've done 4 deals and nothing's ever come up in a final walkthrough, right? So we got to share, this is the stuff that comes up. How do you handle it, right? In this case, hey, we got a seller that's saying, no problem, we'll get it fixed. We might get a seller that says, too bad, it's never leaked before. You guys should have had you guys had your inspection. They didn't say anything. We're not doing anything. Right? What are we going to do in that scenario? Luckily, you had a seller that was willing to play ball, but plenty of times we're going to get a seller in the same exact scenario. They're going to go, you guys did inspections. Sorry. Right? Now, what the contracts say, I'm pretty sure it's in every single state is, right? We did inspections, but the property needs to stay in the same condition that it was at the time of inspections, meaning furnace is working at inspection. Furnace is not working at final walkthrough. The seller doesn't just get to skate by, sorry, right? It needs to be in the same condition that it was when we did our inspections, right? So if something like that happens, buyers get the opportunity to walk away if the seller's not going to be willing to fix that and put a new furnace. I mean, it literally happened to me when I bought my my first office. I bought our first office in East Long Meadow, and I think we were a week away from closing, and I forget what happened, but something came up where we had to extend the closing, and it was like a 2-week extension or something like that. So I had already done kind of like a walkthrough. The office was our previous Century 21 office. Right, I was just buying a building off of my partner that we owned together, and I was just going to take full ownership of it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pop over there morning of and see what's going on. Weird smell going on. Furnace had shit the bed, and I got a new furnace out of the deal. Right? I had a working furnace when we put the deal together. I got a final walkthrough. And in this case, had I closed 2 weeks earlier, this would have been my problem. And we see this all the time with our buyers, right? They buy a house, everything's fine. 2 weeks later, furnace goes, oh, they knew, they were just trying to slip this by us. A lot of times it is just, no, they didn't know. I was working in that building. I didn't know the furnace was about to go. So, Pat, you had your hand up. What do you got?
Yeah. So, I had a very interesting one where, at Thanksgiving last year, my guy decided to switch his job title from a hourly employee to a salaried employee. So we were supposed to close on 12/5, and he switched right at the last second to a different job title. So underwriting was like, we can't, give him the loan now. We have to wait like 3 weeks. And so we switched the closing date till 12/8, and everyone was upset. But in hindsight, it was actually a really good thing, because the day of walkthrough on the 28th, we got there and the cellar door was locked. Like, we couldn't get down there. So I called the list agent. I'm like, buddy, this is final walkthrough. Like, I got to be able to get in the cellar. Like, what are we doing here? And so he came with a putty knife, and he like popped the door open for us, which was interesting. But when we went down there was like 3 inches of water in the basement. And so it turned into a whole thing. Because it was the end of the year, everyone was freaking out because they didn't want to push into the new year. So basically, we got the seller to agree to like a $5,000 credit to put. What was happening was, under the basement stairs, water was coming in through the back of the house and getting down in through those stairs somehow. So the $5,000 credit was given so that they could basically fix that. They like fixed the wall somehow so the water wouldn't come in that way, and then they cut a French drain in up in the driveway in the back behind the house. They cut a French drain in, and then that actually didn't completely fix it. So then we had already closed, but the guy who did the French drain said, you know what, I'll just put a sump pump in your basement, free of cost, because we were still holding his escrow. We didn't pay. The attorney hadn't paid out the French drain and the stair fixing yet, and the guy wanted his money. So he was like, dude, I'm just gonna put a sump pump in your basement so that it'll fix this and so that I can get my money. And so it was a very interesting situation. But yeah, I mean, if we had closed on 12/5, he probably wouldn't have known this would have even happened until he was living in the house for 2 or 3 weeks, and then his basement would have filled with water, and I would have got a call like, what the heck is going on? So I guess everything happens for a reason is the point of the story.
Yeah, it's a great share, and getting into great detail about how this stuff can all play out. I had one, and Jeff and Linda, I'll get to you guys next. I had one, it was similar, and and this can happen. I'm going to give a water example, but this can happen with anything, right? So we had water. My buyer says, I want French drain and sump pump. Sellers are like, we'll pay for this. We'll pay for the sump pump. That would fix it. My buyer's like, no, I want both. And so I think the deal that we worked out, if I remember correctly, is prior to close, we put the sump pump in. So they hired somebody, sump pump gets installed, but then we held money. I think we said, it was like for 12 months or something. We're going to hold money in escrow to do a French drain. And as long as the sump pump fixed the issue and he didn't get water in his basement for the next 12 months, then that money was going to get released back. So we held like 1.5 times or whatever what we thought it was going to take to get a French drain done. So you just never know where these things can lead, and what creative ways that you've got to structure a deal to keep both parties happy. That's what we're trying to do. Can we find a solution, right? Instead of letting that deal die, I want French drain and sump pump, you want just sump pump, right? Well, hey, what about this? Right? So thinking outside the box, getting creative to structure it and keep it together. Jeff and Linda.
Oh, this personally happened to me. So I had a lovely townhome. It was relatively new. I had never had any issues with water or anything in my basement. And the day before closing, the movers came, they got everything out of there. And I was there till, late in the evening, cleaning, making sure it was beautiful for the new owners. And the next day, when the buyer's agent did their final walkthrough, the call came through, hey, we're down in the basement and there's some water. And I said, oh my goodness, had no idea what that could possibly be. So of course they said, we're going to hold back money in escrow and get a plumber out there. And I said, of course, that's what we're going to do. Because to your point, we always are going to deliver the home in the same condition that it was as of the inspection. So that's what happened, and the plumber came, and I don't remember anymore. It was several years ago what they had to do, but they did what they did, and we closed, and everybody was happy. And I'm still scratching my head. I don't know what happened, but that's what happened.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Sue, we'll finish up with you. What do you got? Are you muted? What happened? Where'd Sue go?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you
I'm
go.
muted. So I just got an email, by a buyer that's gonna be closing at the end of the month. He has is it Mass Housing where they get a $25,000 credit for down payment? So the second floor on this, there's actually no staircase. There's just kind of like a ladder per se that goes up there. And they're saying that if it has a safety or structural issues, um, this needs to be corrected before the closing period. Prior to closing,
So
rather.
so there's a second floor on this property that has like bedrooms in it or something, and the only way up there is a ladder?
Yeah, so this is a really old home. So I don't know if there was a staircase there before or if it was just like a pull down ladder to get up into the attic. And the rooms are, horsehair plaster, and it's never been used before. It's being used as storage right now. But I don't know where the ladder came in. It's fixed to
Yeah,
the
so
upstairs.
I've never seen just a kind of a ladder, like not like a fixed structure with railings and stuff like that. So I could definitely see this being an issue. So I think unless anybody else has, run into this, I think we're gonna have to put a set of stairs in. If you don't feel like there's adequate room to put a set of stairs, can we do a spiral staircase? That's typically your solution for if you got a really tight area. But other than that, if that's what they're saying is the guideline, I think you're going to have anybody dealt with this? Yeah, so I think you're just gonna have to work with the lender to see what they're going to accept. Maybe you got to talk to the appraiser to see, did the appraiser comment something? What is the appraiser looking for to get this loan to go through?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you got some homework to do, and now you guys are gonna have to figure out who's gonna pay for it.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah. So. All right, guys. Again, crushing it with Kirk at 10. Awesome dialogue today. Appreciate you guys. Looking forward to my final day here of one-on-ones. Have yourselves a great weekend, and excited to talk to you again on Monday morning. Go put some deals together. Take care.